Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for your patience. I was just waiting for some more people to roll in. Our numbers were still ticking up. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. A couple of you are asking for clarification on when I start. So I'll just type quickly into the chat box that I am getting started. Well, good morning to everyone here in the US, that is, and to those joining us from abroad. Maybe good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to talking to you about the Master of Business Analytics program, and specifically about some of the admissions processes and what we're going to look for as we evaluate your applications. My name is Stephanie Butler. I'm part of the admissions team at MIT Sloan, and my primary responsibility on our team is to work with the Master of Business Analytics program, the program office, the current students, the prospective students, and so that's what I do on our team and why I'm talking to you today. As I mentioned in the chat box, there were a lot of great questions submitted in advance. I've tried my best to sort of weave in additional responses as I go throughout the presentation, so I make sure I'm hitting quite a bit of it. And then at the end, I'll also address some more of those and any questions that pop up in the chat panel while we're talking today. So feel free to use that as a place to ask questions. I'm going to start with a quick overview of the Master of Business Analytics program before we dive into the admissions process. And even before that, I'm going to take a step back and talk about the portfolio of programs that MIT Sloan offers. So today we're talking about the MBAn, which is 12 months in length and is really intended for students or C students with between 0 and 2 years of work experience. But of course, MIT Sloan offers several other programs that you, even as an MBAn student, will benefit from. So another specialized master's program, the Master of Finance, a traditional 2-year MBA program, the dual degree LGO, which is an MBA and a Master's of Engineering, as well as 2 executive MBA programs. And the reason I think this is important is that while, of course, you will be creating strong bonds and working closely with and collaborating with those from your MBAn class, you will also have a lot of opportunity to sit in class, elective courses, to collaborate on projects together, to work with other club leaders, and tons of other extracurricular activities, clubs, conferences, workshops, and programming that you will have an opportunity to not just do with others from the MBAn program, but also from MFin, MBA, and even the Sloan Fellows and EMBA as well. So that's incredibly valuable considering how much diversity you can already see just in this snapshot across those various programs. So a lot of learning to be done just by sitting side by side with these other students. Advanced analytics at MIT is distinctive, something you might expect from a program at MIT, this premier institution. So you see on the right-hand side, operations research, you're looking at models and decisions. On the left-hand side, machine learning kind of incorporates a little bit more, something a little different. But really at MIT, you're looking at that entire ecosystem. So it encompasses all of that. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the Operations Research Center logo. The reason this is important, especially for you, is because the Master of Business Analytics program is a partnership. It's a partnership between the MIT Sloan School of Management as well as the Operations Research Center. And so the reason that this makes this program unique, if you are thinking about other sort of comparable programs or programs that look somewhat comparable, the one at MIT, this Master of Business Analytics program, not only allows you to develop these technical skills, that's kind of where the Operations Research Center comes in, this advanced analytics ecosystem, but it also gives you the tools and the practice and the guidelines to ask the right questions so you're doing the right analysis, to apply that analysis to complex problems, and to communicate those findings to often very non-technical people, so people who don't share that same skill set and that same vocabulary as you do. So I think this is a really stellar program that gives you sort of above and beyond what you might get in something that's just a little bit more focused or solely focused rather on that technical piece. So a quick snapshot of the MBAn curriculum. This is a 12-month program. It runs from September to September, starting when you get on campus, the required core courses. You can see them there. January is a special term at MIT. And then starting in February, the spring term, you will begin taking elective courses, which you have full sort of reign over which courses make most sense for your interests, your future goals. You'll also begin the CAPSTONE project during the spring term while you're still on campus. And then during the summer, you will be on site with your CAPSTONE company for that final 10 weeks of the program, essentially doing an internship. I'll talk about the CAPSTONE a little bit more in slides to come. But finally, on this slide, I'll mention that it is a STEM designated program. So for those who are not US citizens, you do have the opportunity to extend your learning a little bit through this. So the CAPSTONE model through the MBAn program is unique. MIT Sloan in general is very action-oriented. Action learning is a huge hallmark of the school and kind of the ethos in our programs. And the CAPSTONE project is a really great example of that through the MBAn program. So CAPSTONE allows you, along with one other classmate, to partner with an organization, a company that has said, I want to work with MIT Sloan students to help me crack a problem. So work on real life data science problems over the course of 7 months. Remember I said that will start in February while you're still on campus and run right through September. You'll also have, you work closely with advisors, so people, faculty members, as well as PhD students. So this is a guaranteed full-time summer work experience where you are actually on the ground working directly with the company. And because you are putting in that work over the summer, you do get a $20,000 tuition offset. So the culmination of the CAPSTONE project is to complete a written report, as well as a final presentation to the host company, as well as MIT Sloan and ORC. Here's a small sampling of some of our CAPSTONE project sponsors. In the past, as you can see, it kind of runs the gamut. We have food and beverage, we have retail, a couple transportation companies and different projects, healthcare and Quest Diagnostics, even insurance with the Swiss Re project there. So this is just, again, a small sampling. I encourage you to go online. We do have not only the full scope of projects, but also a lot more detail about the projects that students have done in the past. Extensive career coaching. So Tracy Wishon is the dedicated career advisor for the MBAn program. And she cares really deeply about getting to know you and getting to know your goals and why you're here. So she will work closely with you in a one-on-one format. She will host several workshops and seminars to make sure that you are prepared for not only sort of the application process, but also, networking and interview prep and salary negotiation. So here is just a snapshot again of some sample companies that have hired MBAn students in the past, as well as some sample job titles. Again, I encourage you to go look at the full employment report that is posted online. That will give you a lot more detail and insight into this. Tracy also did a webinar a couple of weeks ago that I think would be really helpful to hear from her. I encourage you to go back and look at that on our YouTube page or the website as well. So it's not just Tracy. We also have a couple premier career events that will help you sort of, particularly in the exploration process. So we have an analytics career night, which is a networking event that exposes the MIT community to opportunities in data science and business analytics. Tons of different companies come to campus to showcase their analytics excellence and also recruit future talent. You can see, again, a quick sample of all of the many career night sponsors we've had in the past. One thing I love about analytics is it really runs the gamut across industries. Every organization has data that they need to be analyzed and that they need to sort of be used to drive results. So again, go look for more information. I threw the website in at the bottom here, analyticsfair.mit.edu/jobs for more details. We also do a speaker series. So in this program, we invite guest speakers who are leaders in their industries to come and host a lunchtime seminar for anyone interested in business analytics. Happens about 1 to 2 times a month. Quick sampling of some speakers we've had. Really, really interesting people doing really interesting things. Finally, the data track, which has also been an annual tradition in this program, to go out west every spring, March, and visit various companies in Seattle and the Bay Area. And this is really intended as a way to explore, to understand better what you are interested in and what options are available. Quick snapshot of how sort of the value, the tangible sort of financial return on your investment in an MBAn degree from MIT Sloan. I encourage you to go online again to look for some more detailed data. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say a couple of words about the MIT community. So MIT is a community full of intelligent people and full of students driven to succeed, but they're also really driven to action, to moving something forward, to making an impact, to innovating and trying new things. And they also, aren't just sort of driven for themselves, but they are a collaborative community. So they are always looking to, help a fellow Sloanie out. You'll hear quite often, Sloanies helping Sloanies. And that's not just sort of a catchphrase of ours, but something you'll see day in and day out as people are willing to jump in and support their classmates and fellow Sloanies and MIT students in their endeavors. It's also a very diverse community, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we talk through the class profile. So this is the class of 2020 for the MBAn students. As an admissions committee, it really is our goal to create a diverse class. And so that means geographical diversity, undergraduate background, career experience and interests. And that is what makes a very engaging and dynamic atmosphere, is that diversity. You can see here our class size was about 60 this year. Lots of diversity represented below. What you'll also see is some average GPA and GRE quant score. And I know this can be quite intimidating, so I do want to remind people that these scores are only averages. We admit people with a range of scores. So use these as a benchmark. So use these to determine how competitive you might be within the applicant pool. But certainly you don't need to, don't be overly discouraged if you are not hitting these numbers exactly. Everyone's going to stand out for different reasons. Every applicant is going to shine in different ways. So while yes, you do need to reach a point where the admissions committee not only sees you as standing out amongst the rest of the applicant pool, but also has confidence in your ability to exceed in a very rigorous and busy environment. So we are here to set you up for success, and that's part of our evaluation of your academic background and your GRE or GMAT scores. The reason we don't post a GMAT score far and away the most common score for people to submit to this program is the GRE. So it just doesn't make sense to submit GMAT or to post GMAT scores as well. You'll see the average work experience for this program is about 15 months. Just like every other stat you'll see here, there is no specific cutoff, and we have no minimum GPA, no minimum GRE score, no minimum or maximum amount of work experience. That said, this program was, designed for those earlier in their careers. On average, or the 80% range, 0 to 2 years of work experience, which you saw in an earlier slide. And work experience, there were a couple questions about this as well. It's definitely not required for admission, nor is not having any a disadvantage. In fact, many students come directly from their undergraduate institutions, though most of those students coming directly from undergrad do have some sort of on-the-ground experience through an internship, a co-op, or other projects that they've been able to put their learning into practice through. I'll also sort of state this diversity of undergraduate majors. Take a quick peek there. I'm going to move on, but I will sort of circle back to that because that was another often asked question when people registered as well. So what we're looking for. So there's two sort of separate buckets that we look for as we are evaluating applications. Demonstrated success is one of them. This means, your academic background, success in academics, success in, your professional life. And again, that can mean internships, success in extracurricular activities. So that's kind of the left-hand side of this chart, of this slide. And then the other part is attributes. So these are sort of personal attributes that allow us to get a sense of, your ability to collaborate with others toward a common goal, your ability to inspire others in order to achieve success, your willingness to seek alternative solutions to existing challenges, and of your motivation to pursue a particular goal. So, there's a lot of question about sort of, are we looking for people with computer science backgrounds, with strong programming knowledge, and that's not the case. So while we do see some people from computer science backgrounds, I'll remind you that we do have a range of different undergraduate backgrounds, including computer science, yes, but also including economics, engineering, finance, management, math, operations, research, and statistics. So no, you do not have to come in with prior analytics, programming, computer science background. That said, because of the quantitative rigor of the program, we do look for students with some mathematical foundation. So it would be very difficult for you to not only be admitted, but again, we're here to set you up for success. And so part of that is making sure that you have a foundational experience through your undergraduate career that allows you to sort of hit the ground running and understand and sort of relate quickly to some of these quantitative concepts that you'll address, that will be addressed in the MBAn program. As far as the programming piece though, there will be a lot of opportunities and mandatory sort of seminars and opportunities to learn that particular skill set across several different softwares. All right, so the application itself. So how do we determine your demonstrated success? How do we determine those other attributes, whether you have them or not? And we're really grabbing data points from all of these different components. So the resume, that is a one-page resume. It should include your education background, it should include work experience, it should include, extracurriculars or entrepreneurial experience. So the resume, this is something that you can use if you're feeling stuck on where to put something that you feel is important. Often the resume, a quick bullet point, addition there, and sort of one of those sections might help you encompass that particular trait or accomplishment that you want us to see. A response to one essay question. So that essay question you can read both in the application and online. It says, please describe your reason for pursuing an MBAn, pursuing the Master of Business Analytics. What do you hope to gain? And what are your career aspirations? So we do ask you to do that in 500 words. And I know that seems intimidating for some people. It is a challenge, and we encourage you. This is a great opportunity to really refine why you're pursuing this program, to really refine what it is that you're looking for. We know that you could probably talk and write for much longer about this. This is something you're passionate about and something you're excited about. We get that, but the challenge for you is really going to keep it to that 500 words. Again, use this as one piece of the application. We will look through all of these components in their entirety. So, something that you aren't able to fit in through the essay might be better said through a video response or on the resume, or if you sort of make it to that point, the interview. Response to 2 video questions. So one video question, the prompt is to introduce yourself to your future classmates. This is a great opportunity for us to get to know you a little bit better, quote unquote, off the paper. Again, just a quick introduction. It's 60 seconds long. Don't overthink it. It gives us an opportunity to see a little bit of your personality come out, to see some of the presence that you might have in person. Some tips for the video. You don't have to be overly creative. The content, you are supposed to be the centerpiece of this, so don't feel like you need to be doing something wild and crazy while you're filming the video. If you do decide to stand in a special place, for instance, make sure that special place is not noisy. The most important thing, again, is you, and that we're able to hear what you're saying through that video. This should be fairly casual. It should be also professional in its content. You should be acting professionally, but the video itself does not need to be professionally produced and taped and edited. In fact, it should not be edited. It should just be one fluid take that you can do on, simple equipment or even your iPhone and upload right directly to us. So the second video question, a lot of people have had questions about this over the past couple of months as they've been working through their application. This question will not show up. You will not have access to this question until you reach a certain point in the application process. So if you don't see it in your application now, not to worry, it will appear once you've made a certain distance through. This question is not something that you can prepare for. It's sort of this randomly generated general interest question. You'll have a couple seconds, about 60 seconds, I think, to prepare for your response, and then 60 seconds to actually give us a response. This is, again, just allows us to get to know you a little bit better, sees how you, gives us, an opportunity to see how you think on your feet. Again, general interest questions, it could be about current events, or it could be about, your likes and dislikes. So again, no preparation necessary, nothing to be worried about there. Your academic transcripts, we want to see every transcript that represents a grade that you've been given toward your degree. So this includes, courses that you might have taken over the summer, at a community college. This includes study abroad. We're going to be looking at your entire transcript, not just that final GPA. So we will see the particular courses you've taken. We actually will ask about some specific courses that are particularly applicable to this program, and ask you to sort of call them out in the application. We'll also see those in the transcript. We'll see, any trends that you might have happened as you went throughout. Maybe you started off a little bit shaky and then finished really strong. So we'll see your academic experience in its entirety. If your transcripts are not in English, we do need those to be translated by an official transcription service. So we ask for 3 letters of recommendation. For most of you, we want 2 academic letters of recommendation from academic sources who know you well, and then 1 professional letter. If you do have a more significant amount of work experience than perhaps other applicants, I'd say, maybe 4 years or more, I think it is okay to submit 2 professional letters of recommendation as opposed to 2 academic, and then 1 academic recommendation. So across the board, regardless of who you are going to ask, whether it's the academic source or the professional source, the best recommendation is going to come from someone who knows you well. So someone who can say more than just, Stephanie got an A in this class, or, Stephanie showed up every day for this class. Stephanie is a good team player, period. So what can they tell us about you beyond simply, the facts that we can garner from other data points? The GRE or the GMAT score. So this is a requirement. Which one you take is totally up to you. We are agnostic when it comes to which test you take. I do want to answer a couple questions about that. There were several that came in again through the pre-submitted questions, as well as some that I can see are coming in currently. So yes, one or the other is required for admission. Most of our MBAn students do apply with a GRE score, so that again is what you're seeing in class profiles. Again, use these as a benchmark to gauge how competitive you might be within the applicant pool, but it is not a minimum score. Again, we do not have minimum scores or GPAs. This is also not just sort of a box to check. There was a question about, kind of just thought it was like table stakes. I got to do it, like check it off the list. No, you should be trying your best to score the highest you can. This is not the most important data point. All of these are important, but it is, nonetheless important. So, as are all of them. I'll also say that yes, we talk a lot about quantitative scores with this program because it is heavily quantitative, but it's also important that you do well on the verbal section as well. Again, I talked about the ability to communicate as you're doing these analysis, to communicate your findings, and this is a more comprehensive program. So we do want to see that you are able to do well in the verbal section as well. So don't just ignore it. Don't focus so heavily on the quant section that you're not able to do well in the verbal section as well. Another question that I've had asked quite a bit. So yes, we do need you to ask GMAC or ETS to send us your official score. That said, at the time of application, you are able to apply solely with a self-reported score. So that allows you even more time to take the GRE or the GMAT score sort of right up until the deadline. And then finally, for all applicants whose native language is not English and who have not received their entire undergraduate education in an English-speaking country, must submit a TOEFL or an IELTS score. And then the interview. So if you are invited for an interview, every person who is admitted to this program does need to complete an interview, but they are by invitation only. So if the admissions committee wants you to move on in the process, which of course is a positive signal, though does not guarantee your admission, we will invite you for an interview, which also means that not everyone who applies will be invited for an interview. So the interview will be done with a member of the admissions committee. We do not have student or alumni interviewers, and interviews are held, many of them are held right in Cambridge on campus, which also allows you an opportunity to meet with current students and do some other great activities on campus, get a sense for what the vibe is at Sloan. We also do offer interviews at some limited remote locations, as well as via Skype. More to come on that when you actually get to that step in the process. The format, so it is a combination of behavioral and technical questions. So behavioral questions will, we will ask you for examples that allow us to better see how you work with the team and solve problems and make decisions. And then technical questions are going to focus on things like math, probability, statistics, and computer science. You do not have to be an expert across the board. We just want to get a better sense of where you are. And then if you are invited for an interview, you will also be asked to upload and describe a recent analytics or data science project that you have worked on. A lot of people ask for details on that, but unfortunately, you're just going to have to wait until you get to that step in the process. Just some general application tips. Submit when you're ready. We do not have rolling applications, so there's no, if you feel like your application could be stronger, and it might get stronger over the course of the next several weeks prior to the deadline, there is no need to submit earlier than January 8th. We will not read it earlier, and there's no advantage to doing it. Focus on submitting a strong application, not your chances of being admitted. Again, you're better off tweaking your own individual application to make yourself a stronger candidate than running the numbers and trying to understand how likely it is based on a profile. So it's really impossible for you to determine from where you stand what your chances are without knowing the entire pool and a lot of other factors as well. So know yourself and know the program. This is good advice for anyone applying to grad school. Understand why you're doing this. Understand why Sloan and why the MBAn program specifically are going to be the right fit for you. You will certainly be able to, write sort of a tighter, more compelling essay. Your interview will likely be stronger. You'll just feel more confident about the entire process. So here is a timeline of what it will look like. So January 8th is the upcoming application deadline. So we still have, just over a month for you to complete your application and sort of put finishing touches on that. And then we will begin sitting, once we sort of read your application, so interview invitations will not go out that same week or anything like that. Please be patient. We do want to read thoroughly through your written application before sending interview invitations. We do try to give you a week. So we'll send out an invitation and then ask you to interview, about a week out or more if we're able to. Decisions are released March 5th, and then you have until April 15th in order to reply whether you'd like to enroll or not. All right, so those are all the slides I have. I'm happy to spend the next several minutes answering some of your questions. I'm going to take a quick second to scroll through and see what sort of questions you posed while I was talking. So there were some questions about tuition and financial aid. For as far as tuition and cost of living costs, cost of living budgets and predictions, I would say, go online. We do post those, not a great use of our time to talk about that, which is listed online. Regarding financial aid, so we do offer, of course, that $20,000 stipend against your tuition, which is very helpful, as well as, potentially additional scholarships given based on merit. And then loan opportunities as well. Do have those conversations with our financial aid office once admitted to make sure you're taking advantage of everything that's available to you. A lot of questions, I think I hinted at this or maybe just sort of said it offhandedly, but a lot of questions about the relative importance of the various criteria in the application. So there is no one piece of the application that's more important than the others. We don't weight anything. Every piece of information that you give us is important. We feel very strongly that we're not going to waste your time asking you to complete pieces of the application that we don't find helpful, nor are we going to waste our time by having to, assess pieces of the application that aren't giving us the data that we want. So everything that we ask you to submit is helpful. Everything is considered. Nothing is more important than the other. Is it possible to apply in the final year of your bachelor's degree? Yes, we already talked about that. Absolutely. Someone asked, is it better to highlight academic/career achievements or a well-rounded personality/life story? So, good question. Of course, your academic and career achievements is going to be part of that demonstrated success, and so that will be a highlight of your application. It will be a big part of it. But again, think about how you're using the various components. So, we're going to see academic highlights in your transcripts, in your test scores. We're going to see career achievements in your resume and your letters of reference. That said, there are areas that you can, for example, through the interview process, you can begin, or through the interview and the video question as well, you can begin to share some of your personality. We do want to see multi-dimensional candidates and multi-dimensional students. So just think about where you are showcasing various components of yourself in the different pieces of the application. I do not have prior research experience, nor have I published any papers. That's okay. That is not part of our admissions criteria. So some people are asking, about the breakdown of letters of recommendation. We do find that we get the most helpful data if we do have a combination of academic and professional sources. So if need be, if you don't have someone that sticks out, as being a supervisor from an internship or something, a team leader, you can get creative, just again, giving us a multi-dimensional view and perspective on some of those other criteria that we're looking at. Can I apply after completing a 3-year bachelor's degree? Yes. My GPA in college was relatively low. If you do have an area of the application that you feel is somewhat deficient or puts you at a disadvantage or is less competitive, you can sort of compensate in other ways. So if it's something like your GPA, what have you done since? How are you scoring on the GMAT or the GRE? So think about what the deficiency is and how you might compensate for that, and give us another sort of conflicting and stronger data point in another component of the application. So someone asks about international GPAs. We are a very experienced admissions committee, so you do not need to, actually, please do not convert your GPA to fit an American 4.0 format. We understand how to, we understand sort of what various grading scales look like around the world, and we'll be able to determine, even though it's not an apples to apples number, we'll be able to determine sort of how successful you might have been in that program. Can we submit more than 3 letters of recommendation? Please do not. One, it's an unfair, it's unfair for you to have an additional data point than every other applicant. And secondly, we are reading and evaluating a lot of applications, and we want to be as thorough as possible. So if people are submitting several letters of recommendation, it doesn't, it slows the process down, and doesn't do you any favors either. So someone asked a question about the self-introduction, that video essay. Yes, you are imagining your audience to be your future classmates, though the people who will be viewing it is the admissions committee. So we will not sort of share this more broadly. Do sort of keep it professional. We are the people who will be viewing it, but you can take sort of a tone that's a little bit more informal. It's a little bit more peer-to-peer. We are at time, actually a little bit afterward. I'm going to see. So do stay connected. We are so happy to be a resource for you in the admissions office. This email address is the best, quickest place to get a hold of someone in the admissions office. We're pretty good about responding quickly. Also continue to learn more about the program and about MIT Sloan. The analytics program does have their own Instagram account, which profiles current students and gives you some great insight into what it's actually like to be a student in the program. So please do stay in touch, continue learning about the program. And yeah, great. Well, thank you for joining us. I hope to read your applications on January 8th. I hope to learn more about you then. And in the meantime, please let us know if you have questions. Thank you.